Wafi was a wild one, always pushing the limits, testing boundaries. He never seemed to care about the consequences. School held little interest for him. He'd rather spend his days hanging out with friends, getting into trouble. His grades reflected his lack of effort. He was smart, but his intelligence remained untapped, wasted on reckless adventures. His family life was complicated. His parents argued constantly. The tension in their small apartment was palpable. His father, a hard-working man worn down by life, despaired at Wafi's behavior. He tried to instill discipline, but his words fell on deaf ears. Wafi's mother, though loving, was too caught up in her own struggles to provide the guidance her son needed. Wafi felt suffocated, misunderstood. He sought solace in the streets, finding camaraderie amongst other lost souls. He craved excitement, a sense of belonging. His recklessness masked a deeper pain, a yearning for something more. He just didn't know where to find it. The arguments between Wafi's parents reached a boiling point. The tension in the house was palpable, and every word exchanged seemed to cut deeper than the last. It was as if the walls themselves were absorbing the anger and resentment, making the air thick with hostility. One particularly vicious fight ended with his mother walking out. She left in a storm of emotions, her suitcase hastily packed with whatever she could grab in the heat of the moment. The door slammed behind her, echoing through the now eerily silent house. Wafi, caught in the middle, felt the ground shift beneath him. He was left standing in the aftermath, his heart heavy with confusion and sorrow. The home he once knew was now a battleground, and he was a casualty of the war between his parents. The already fragile peace of their home shattered completely. He made a choice. The decision weighed heavily on him, but he knew he couldn't stay in the ruins of what was once a family. The broken picture frame on the floor was a stark reminder of the life that had been fractured beyond repair. He decided to live with his father. It was a choice born out of necessity rather than desire. He packed his belongings with a heavy heart, each item a reminder of the life he was leaving behind. It wasn't an easy decision. The thought of leaving his mother behind filled him with guilt and sadness. He spent countless nights sitting on his bed, deep in thought, wrestling with his emotions. He loved his mother dearly, but he couldn't bear to be around her pain, her disappointment. Every tear she shed felt like a dagger to his heart. He hugged her tightly, trying to offer comfort, but knowing that his presence was a constant reminder of the life she had lost. His father, though strict, represented stability, a sense of order in Wafi's chaotic world. His father's stern demeanor was a stark contrast to the emotional turmoil he had left behind. It was a different kind of challenge, but one that offered a semblance of structure. Life with his father was different. Rules were enforced. Expectations were clear. There was a routine, a predictability that Wafi hadn't experienced in a long time. It was both comforting and suffocating. Wafi chafed under the restrictions at first. The newfound order felt like a cage, and he longed for the freedom he once had. He often found himself frustrated, yearning for the chaos that had once been his norm. He missed the freedom he had with his mother, even if it was chaotic. The memories of their time together, though tumultuous, were filled with moments of joy and spontaneity. He would often look at old photos, reminiscing about the life that now seemed so distant. But slowly, very slowly, he began to adapt. The structure that once felt oppressive started to provide a sense of security. He began to find his footing in this new world, learning to navigate the expectations placed upon him. He got a job, contributing to the household income. It was a small step, but it gave him a sense of purpose. Handing over his earnings to his father was a moment of pride, a sign that he was becoming responsible. He started paying attention in school, his grades slowly improving. The discipline instilled by his father began to reflect in his academic performance. He found himself more focused, more determined to succeed. The move didn't erase his rebellious streak. He still craved excitement. The thrill of breaking the rules was a hard habit to shake, and he often found himself drawn to the same rebellious friends. He still sought out the company of those living on the edge. The allure of danger and the rush of adrenaline were temptations he couldn't easily resist, but there was a change in him, a newfound sense of responsibility. He began to see the impact of his actions, not just on himself but on those around him. The weight of his choices started to shape his character. He was starting to understand that actions had consequences. The lessons learned from his father, the experiences of his past, all began to converge, guiding him towards a more thoughtful and deliberate path in life. The city was a labyrinth of temptations for a young man like Wafi. Every corner seemed to whisper promises of excitement and adventure, luring him deeper into its neon-lit embrace. Bright lights promised excitement, a chance to escape the drudgery of daily life. The nightlife was a siren song calling out to those who sought something more than the mundane. He was drawn to the underbelly, the hidden corners where danger lurked. These shadowy streets held secrets, and Wafi was eager to uncover them, no matter the cost. It was a dangerous fascination, one that would lead him down a dark path. The allure of the unknown was too strong to resist, pulling him further into the city's depths. One night, he met Muhammad. Their encounter seemed almost fated, as if the city itself had orchestrated their meeting. Older, charismatic, with an air of danger, Muhammad was everything Wafi thought he wanted to be. He exuded confidence and seemed to have the city at his feet. Muhammad introduced him to a world of fast money and easy thrills, a world fueled by drugs. It was a world where the rules were different and the stakes were high. At first it was just small errands, delivering packages, collecting money. Wafi felt important, trusted. He was part of something bigger, something that made him feel alive. The money was good, better than anything he could have made working legit. It was easy to get used to the cash, the thrill of the night, the sense of power it gave him. He justified his actions by telling himself he was just helping out. He wasn't hurting anyone, just making a living in a city that offered few opportunities. He wasn't the one selling the drugs, just delivering them. It was a small distinction, but one that allowed him to sleep at night. He ignored the nagging voice in his head, the one that told him he was in over his head, the voice that warned him of the dangers he was courting. He started spending more time with Muhammad and his crew. They became his new family, a brotherhood bound by the secrets they shared. He learned the ropes of their trade, the language they spoke. He became adept at navigating the city's dark underbelly, understanding its unspoken rules. He witnessed firsthand the devastating effects of the drugs they peddled, the highs and lows, the fleeting moments of euphoria followed by crushing despair. He saw the desperation in the eyes of their customers, the way the drugs ate away at their humanity. It was a sobering sight, one that made him question his choices, even if only for a moment. Wafi's rise through the ranks caught the attention of Bashar, the ruthless kingpin who ruled the city's underworld with an iron fist. Bashar saw potential in Wafi, a recklessness that could be molded, a loyalty that could be bought. He took Wafi under his wing, offering him protection and a chance to prove himself. Bashar's world was one of violence and paranoia, where trust was a weakness and betrayal was rewarded with a bullet. Wafi, hardened by his experiences, adapted quickly. He learned to read people, to anticipate danger, to disappear into the shadows. He became Bashar's most trusted lieutenant, his right-hand man in a vast criminal enterprise. Wafi's loyalty to Bashar was absolute. He owed him everything. Bashar had given him purpose, a sense of belonging he had never found elsewhere. But deep down, a flicker of unease remained. The violence, the destruction he witnessed daily, it took a toll on his soul. He tried to bury those feelings, to convince himself that this was the life he was destined for. Wafi became a ghost, a whisper in the night. He moved through the city with an effortless grace, his every step calculated, his every word measured. He cultivated an air of unpredictability, a dangerous charm that drew people to him even as it kept them at arm's length. He became known on the streets as the Shadow. He was feared and respected in equal measure. His reputation preceded him. He became a master of disguise, blending seamlessly into any crowd, disappearing as quickly as he appeared. The guilt gnawed at him. He saw the faces of the addicts he sold to, their lives falling apart, their families torn asunder. He saw the despair in their eyes, the hopelessness that clung to them like a shroud. He tried to distance himself, to convince himself that they made their own choices. He clung to the hope that one day, it would all be over. He would disappear into the shadows, leaving behind the world of drugs and violence. But for now he played his role, the mask firmly in place. Unbeknownst to those around him, Wafi harbored a secret so profound that it could alter the course of many lives, both in the criminal world and beyond. A secret that would shake the very foundations of the criminal underworld he had so carefully infiltrated. Wafi had spent years building his cover, meticulously crafting an identity that would allow him to move seamlessly through the ranks of Bashar's empire. Wafi was not who he seemed. To the outside world, He was a feared enforcer, a man who commanded respect and instilled fear. But beneath this facade lay a truth that was far more complex. He was not a hardened criminal, a ruthless enforcer. He was a man on a mission, driven by a sense of justice and a desire to make a difference. He was an undercover agent, working tirelessly to bring down Bashir's empire from within. Every day, he risked his life, knowing that one wrong move could mean the end. The decision to become an undercover agent had not been an easy one. It required immense courage and a willingness to sacrifice his own safety for the greater good. Wafi had to weigh the risks and the potential rewards, knowing that the path he chose would be fraught with danger. It meant turning his back on everything he thought he knew, betraying the trust of those who believed they were his family. The bonds he had formed, the friendships he had nurtured, all had to be put aside for the sake of his mission. But Wafi knew it was the right thing to do. He had a deep-seated belief in justice, and a commitment to making the world a better place. He couldn't stand by and watch as innocent lives were destroyed by Bashir's ruthless operations. He had seen firsthand the devastation caused by Bashir's drugs, the lives shattered, the families torn apart. These experiences fueled his determination, giving him the strength to continue even when the odds seemed insurmountable. Every day was a tightrope walk, a delicate balancing act between maintaining his cover and gathering enough evidence to put Bashir away for good. The stakes were incredibly high and the pressure was relentless. He lived in a perpetual state of anxiety, never knowing if his true identity would be discovered, never knowing if today would be his last. The strain was immense. The constant fear of exposure weighed heavily on him, making every interaction a potential threat. He had to compartmentalize, to shut off his emotions, to become someone else entirely. This duality was both his greatest strength and his greatest burden. It allowed him to survive in a world of deception, but it also took a toll on his psyche. He couldn't afford to let his guard down, not even for a moment. Every second counted, and any lapse in vigilance could be fatal. Wafi's journey was a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the lengths one would go to for justice.